I will bet most of you have some sort of electronic device on you right now, or it's really close. Am I right? I'm probably right. That's the world we live in today. We surround ourselves with technology, especially social media. And there may be times where someone makes a nasty comment towards someone else on Twitter or Facebook, and this is where cyberbullying starts. You may have seen those nasty comments on social media or even made one yourself, and usually you regret it later. I basically grew up on this term cyberbullying. I've personally never been cyberbullied, but I've heard of many people dealing with this issue. And because this issue is so pressing, I believe it is important for you to know some basic knowledge behind this topic. So today we are going to explore traditional bullying versus cyberbullying, a law that is being proposed to prevent cyberbullying, and two different types of cyberbullying. First, let's take a look at traditional bullying versus cyberbullying. I mean, when you're bored, have you ever even thought about the differences or the similarities between the two? Probably not. Well, traditional bullying has been around for a long time, even before we've been alive. And usually when you think of this, you think of a fight breaking out in the lunchroom, or the cafeteria, or in the hallway, and people are chanting, fight, fight, fight. And you're probably right, it happens face to face. And it can be resolved with physical force or punishment. Cyberbullying has a bigger range of threats. According to Kim Thomas's Teen Online and Wireless Safety Survey of teenagers from the ages of 13 to 18 years old, 81% of them believe that traditional bullying was easier to get away with than cyberbullying. Traditional bullying, as I said earlier, took a more face-to-face confrontation between people, whereas cyberbullying, the bully can just sit comfortably in his chair, or futon, and still cause harm on his phone, on his iPad, MacBook, or PC. And Fabio and Santika and Sonia Parent's 2013 article titled Cyberbullying Worse Than Traditional Bullying, they looked at why cyberbullying has a bigger negative effect on people. Quote, it has an increased potential for a large audience, an increased potential for anonymous bullying, lower levels of direct feedback, decreased time and space limits, and lower levels of supervision, end quote. Now, let me inform you about a law that is being proposed to prevent cyberbullying. And this law is called the Bad Samaritan Law. It should be created to hold responsible the witnesses of these vicious attacks. According to Heather Bensmiller's 2013 article, The Cyberspartarian, quote, cyberbullying harms countless children, both physically and emotionally. A complete response to the problem must hold responsible not only the bully, but the bystanders who through their silence contribute to the bully's power and the victim's isolation, end quote. Opening the public's eyes to the benefits of this law will create closure and justice for the victims, which they dearly deserve. If this law were to be established, it would force the witnesses to speak up if they ever saw this happen. In a hypothetical situation, if you saw cyberbullying happening right now, the chances of you reporting this to a law enforcement official or an adult is really slim to none. And you're more likely to tell your friend or your neighbor, and that really doesn't help anybody except the bully. But as I said earlier, with this law being established, and it would be forced you to tell someone, the number of these cases would decrease because cyberbullies would have not less of an audience per se. Now, let's turn our attention to the different types of cyberbullying. The first type of cyberbullying I'm going to show you is not catfishing, it's sexting, and it's a very serious teen issue. In an article written by Justin Patch and Associates titled Cyberbullying and Sexting, they conducted a survey in 2013 of school officials and the FBI National Academy about how they felt towards the law enforcement's role in sexting cases. And the common belief was found that the law enforcement should not have a huge role in sexting cases, but if the survey takers had children under the age of 18, it was the total opposite. They thought that law enforcement should have a huge role in this. Sexting is a growing problem for teens. It can cause emotional problems, psychological issues, and it causes the victim to be publicly humiliated. And the other form of cyberbullying I'm going to talk about is catfish. In John Komardika's 2013 article calling Being Had and Letting the World See You Fall, he talks about the show Catfish, and here's a short clip.
Are you ready to deal with bad news? This is the kind of scum that gives the internet a bad name.
That's just like gross.
No. Was it planned to give her cancer and kill her? Whose funeral was that? For around 3 years? That's up. Why?
I fell in love with somebody that is just evil.
You're not the only one.
Okay, to clarify this clip, Ned Shalman and Max Joseph, the two hosts of the show, take real people who think they've fallen in love with someone online and they find out that the person is who they really say they are. And most times, the person they thought they were in love with isn't who they expected. And as you saw from this video, this causes confusion between people and usually ends up in anger, frustration, and tears. Cyberbullying is a real serious teen issue, and in conclusion, after you just learned about traditional bullying for cyberbullying, a law being proposed to prevent cyberbullying, and the two different forms of cyberbullying, we found that it is important that when you see this happen, you report it to someone of importance so they may be dealt with accordingly. And I'll give you the most simple way to fix this. Treat others the way you want to be treated.